I don't work my businesses because I have to. I love what I do. And we're all going to die someday. Let's just be honest about it. Have you built the business that you're going to be so proud of that you get to will to whoever? If I continue to build this thing and create as much impact as possible, the impact and the legacy that I can pass down will be a lot bigger than if on February 17th I said, oh, I have cancer. The end. We're done. I'm just going to do kumbayas around campfires from now on. Like, who does that serve? No one, including me, because that's not what brings me joy. And my legacy currently is all the people I've impacted through business.
Welcome to Direct Selling Shift, an exclusive podcast by DSN. I'm your host, Blake Mallon, and this is where direct selling high performers and experts share their most powerful shifts in mindset, skill set, and strategy to help you accelerate your business and amplify your impact. I challenge you to be present, open your mind, and let the shift begin. Hey everyone, Blake here. I come to you this week with a very heavy heart. And I'll let you know up front, this is not going to be a normal episode. So we recorded this with Jessie Lee a few weeks ago, and in the conversation, in addition to all her business insights, she talks very openly about her fight with stage 4 colon cancer. And I'm very sorry if this is the first you're hearing of this, but on September 16th, Jessie Lee Ward lost that battle and passed away. She was someone I worked closely with, a friend. It's been a very heavy couple weeks. I know many of you across her community, across the entire industry, are also grieving right now. In moments when life just doesn't make any sense, I try to find strength in my faith that there must be some greater plans ahead for those we cherish. Jessie Lee was more than a role model. She was a hero. She was an icon. She was a legend to so many. To me, she was a shining example of someone who discovered her purpose and lived it to the absolute fullest every day. And now she's been called to a greater purpose. Sending prayers right now to her family, friends, everyone mourning her loss. It was in this very conversation I asked her a personal question, how even after her stage 4 cancer diagnosis, she continued to double down and pour her heart into her work, and I had to ask her why. And her answer is one of the most beautiful messages I have ever heard. I can't think of a more inspiring reminder of why we do what we do in this industry. I personally had mixed emotions about continuing with this release as scheduled, even reached out to some of those closest to her just for guidance, and we feel sharing is a great way to honor her and everything she stood for. There's a quote that legacy, it's not what you leave for people, it's what you leave in people. And I think that sums it up perfectly, because there's no doubt that her legacy is burning brighter than ever right now. So I ask you to please set aside any judgment, open your heart, and I hope this conversation inspires you as much as it did me. May we all discover our own inner Boss Lee and strive to live and lead as passionately as she did every day. I feel like that's exactly what she would want. So it's my honor to introduce, one last time, the one and only Jessie Lee. Well, welcome to Direct Selling Shift. I'm your host, Blake Mallon. Super excited about our guest today. I'm going to warn you all right up front that I have a feeling today's conversation is going to be very different from what you expect, and something special no matter where you are in your direct selling journey right now. So our guest today, she is a serial entrepreneur and investor, a podcaster, a business coach, and has been recognized by many as one of the top female leaders in the entire direct selling industry. In just under her first 5 years with her current company, she attracted over $1.6 million customers, over 21,000 promoters across 41 countries. Absolute fire. She has a top-rated entrepreneurial podcast, over 10 million downloads. That is a lot of downloads, a massive social following. She is a strategist, a master of social media and systems. We might get into some of that in today's conversation. I love how one of her core values is actually kindness. And she is on a mission. She has a vision to really unite the world, bring the world together through education. And beyond all of the long list of accomplishments, I get to say I've had the privilege of actually working closely with her over the last 4 years. And I know she has an absolute enormous heart, a pure love and passion for people and this profession and what it can do for all of you out there. Let's welcome to the show none other than Boss Lee herself, Jessie Lee. Jessie Lee, how you doing?
I'm great. Thanks, Blake. I could not, when you just said 4 years, I just wanted to say, how has it been 4 years already? I still remember the first time I saw your face. Like,
I know. It's time warp, right? But yeah, we're coming up. We're coming up on 4 years. It's been a great one. You are radiating today. You are glowing. I love the shirt. So
thanks.
So, we get to work together on like a day-to-day, and this is a fun format for me to be able to maybe kind of step out of our day-to-day relationship and really have a higher level conversation to just add value to the channel that we both know and love. So I appreciate the time. I know time is valuable for all of us, especially for you right now. Normally, and I know you've done a lot of podcasts, normally I would kick off the show and I'd want you to talk about kind of your story of how you got attracted to this channel and maybe walk us through some of the challenges that you have overcome to get to where you are today. And there'd be value in that. Like, I know parts of your story. I know what you've overcome and it's inspiring. But I think what's different, and I think it's fitting to kind of start the show just throwing this on the table, is right now you are in a season of life where you're in this moment in the middle of the greatest challenge you've ever faced, not just in your business, but in your life. So I think it's fitting maybe for those that don't know your story, don't follow you already, don't know what's going on in your life. If maybe you take us back to the beginning of this year, the totally unexpected news you got, and kind of what you are presently in the middle of, on top of everything on the business level that we'll get to, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I think it's an important conversation, so I don't mind at all. And I think it also humanizes the fact that everybody listening to this is going through something. Some people something enormous and some people something small. But I think one of the things that connects humans is the fact that all of us have different struggles that are going on. So beginning of the year, I was pumped up. I was excited. 2023, new year, new goals. I'd written everything out. And I am a strategist, like you mentioned. So I really wrote everything out, all my things that I thought I would do this year and my game plans for it and the way I was going to reward myself when everything happened and just my whole structure I do each year to set myself up for success and noting benchmarks and stuff like that. And then February 17th, I get diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And I'm 34 years old, if you're just listening to this. And I thought I was in the best shape of my life. I was obviously, like I said, touring. So I thought I missed signs like exhaustion because I'm an entrepreneur. So I work crazy hours and I'm crazy goal driven. And it's kind of anything and everything it takes to get to the bottom, the bottom goal is what I would do. And I love that. I love that hustle. I love that. And I'm grateful I have that in me, but missed kind of some of these warning signs. And by the time I got diagnosed, it was just like the biggest train track, just immediate stop. And I had to reevaluate everything that was going on in my life, my businesses, about what I'm doing, my health, etc. And so I've been working on that and healing from that since February now, and it's August now. That is the biggest work of my life right now. I've always liked schedule and structure, but I've been a bit go with the flow before then, as you know. And now I'm like, if you don't have that sucker on a calendar, I'm in the middle of treatment somewhere. So it's not happening. And so I've had to flip my life completely around, and it's also exposed a completely different side of me. And it's shown a lot more people my human side instead of just my robotic, workaholic, crush everyone, reach all goals side, which I think has been really good, actually. But that's what I'm going through right now. And it's been quite the journey. But if anyone's up for it, it's me. So let's go.
And that's why I kind of said, I mean, time is the only thing we all have. But when you get news like you're fighting right now, it becomes very apparent how important all time is. So we appreciate you taking the time. And I think it's important for everybody to know the lens that you're fighting right now. And we'll get to hopefully some business conversation today. Yeah. But I think that's so important. And obviously I've been a part of the last couple months, and thank you for the updates and everything that you've shared with me and along the way. I think one thing to highlight is like you had no idea this was coming, right? No symptoms. You know, you didn't go in to get anything checked out. If I understand correctly, you got inspired, I think, by Tony Robbins saying, go get some tests, and you went and got some tests thinking they'd come back fine. Can you kind of take us there and elaborate? I just think it's worth all of us knowing where this began.
Yeah. So, I mean, being a successful entrepreneur, I felt like my whole life was really together in the regards of my businesses were doing very well. My lifestyle's great. I'm a provider for so many people. I've got these incredible godchildren that I try not to spoil them rotten, but anyone with kids knows, like, I'm like the awesome godmother that can take them places. We can travel, we can do whatever. I looked at myself probably, let's call it March 2022. And I was like, you have everything together. Like, people look at your social media. They're like, dang, Jessie Lee's smart. Oh, she's successful. Oh, she travels the world. Oh, she has the whatever. And I looked at myself and I'm like, yeah, you have all this stuff, but you do not look like the vision of health. And, if you're super successful, you should be successful in all the different wheels of life. Right. So in May of 2022, I decided to go on this just total health journey, everything, paying attention. I did my testing for foods that my body's sensitive to. And I found out what methylate's wrong. And I found out all kinds of different stuff, vitamin deficiencies I had, et cetera. So I just went on this huge health journey. And so was losing weight steadily, nothing crazy. And like I said, of course, I was a bit tired. That was actually my number one thing when I was working with these doctors. I'm like, I'm tired, and they're like, you work 18-hour days. I bet you are tired. And then, I read Life Force, Tony Robbins' new health book everybody was talking about. And in Life Force, it says, if you have the means to do so, order a full body MRI and order a Gallery Grail test. And I said, well, I have the means to do so. God bless my network marketing business. And I went ahead, I paid for both of those out of pocket. And then that's when that came back. So I did the testing because I was like, I feel superhuman. I'm like crushing. I look good. My health is right. Everything's right. The money's right. The businesses are good. And then, God has a way of slowing you down, which me, Blake. So I don't really know that anything would have slowed me down except for this, right? I would have taken all my time, effort, energy that I'm now spending healing into what can I do more of? How many more videos, interviews, TV, whatever, how much more can I do? Just more. So that's where it came from. I had no idea. I highly encourage everybody to get checked. I've had some really cool messages since then because I'm so open and public about this. I've had multiple people, but one girl in particular this last week was like, I just want to tell you, you actually saved my life. I would have never gotten a colonoscopy and I did. And they found precancerous cells and that would have grown into cancer. And I would have had no idea. It's amazing the impact you can make when you continue to show up. But I didn't have any idea, had no clue. And thank God I read that book. Thank God I was on that health journey. And, here we are, feel great.
And it's been amazing to watch how you've gone through, right, becoming aware, obviously processing that information. I couldn't even imagine how I would respond, like personally, if given that news. And where you're at today. And I want to talk about some of the mindset, because I think this industry and your education through this channel has probably helped with the mindset and the approach and the strategy that you're taking, even for your health right now, let alone your business. And in this business, we talk about challenges, right? We talk about the challenges we face. We talk about, the news sometimes people say to us. And here you are, like, I mean, you got the toughest news that anybody could imagine ever getting just a few months ago. Mm-hmm. Like, can you take me to that moment? I don't know if I've asked you this or I've heard you say this directly I don't know if it was the first doctor when those results came back. Like, how did that conversation go? What did they say? What was your first response? If you can go to that moment, I'd love if you share.
Yeah. So first I want to go back to what you said about, you don't know how you would process it if it happened to you. And the interesting thing is it's not anything you could ever prepare for. So anybody, like, it's not going to look like you expected it to. I don't think. Of course, maybe there's an anomaly to that, but it's interesting because I went directly to, when you said that, I thought about how you would probably think about your kids and your wife. Like, you don't actually think about the businesses that you have. You don't think about your responsibilities in whatever your network marketing business is, or you don't think about these things. You're thinking about legacy. And for me, it stopped me in my tracks because I'm not married, don't have kids. And my legacy currently is all the people I've impacted through business, which God bless has been a lot, but it makes you stop and think. So it was actually my maybe fifth oncologist. I had been diagnosed already. Obviously, I knew that I had cancer. I knew it was colon cancer. I had even already had surgery at this point in time, but nothing had been staged yet, because in order for you to actually be staged, you have to have pathology back. So everything has to be, they do all the stuff under the microscope or whatever. And pathology came back by the time I went to this doctor, and they had taken, along with, 15 inches or something like that of my small intestine, large intestine, and the cecum where the two meet, and my appendix. They had taken 30 lymph nodes for purposes of pathology. And at that time, they had just found out that 26 of the 30 lymph nodes had come back positive. And they also had just received a PET scan that said it had metastasized to my throat, my neck, and my trachea, which is really far from the site of the cancer, which is why they staged me as stage 4. So thank God it had not traveled to any of my organs, which just means that my lymph nodes are doing their job. It's trying to stop the cancer from spreading. But my response is really interesting. And you noted, maybe the business and all this personal development through network marketing may have affected my mindset and my approach to this. And you could not be more correct. We can go deep into this if you want to, because I hope more and more people get their people to events. I hope more and more companies and reps and everybody start bringing in people who are really thought leaders, who teach people that this is the real weapon in business. Because I think we have a crisis happening right now in network marketing, where people might be great at selling, they might be great at social media, they might be great at recruiting people, but they are not mentally tough. Like I remember breaking boards 12 years ago. Like, why are we karate chopping boards? Like, not understanding at the time what was going on, or even just any of these big speakers that would come in. I'm like, whoa, what are we? And now I think back on that. I don't know, that's making me emotional to think about, but I think back on all those moments, because when I'm told, oh, you're going to die by October, which, if you're listening, we're in the middle of August right now, right? You might be listening in October. Check my social media.
You had a doctor tell you, you had a doctor literally tell you that?
Like a star oncologist. Yep. Like, I paid $17,000 out of pocket. Again, thank you for my profession that I'm part of course, to get a out of insurance, immediate appointment at the top cancer hospital in America. And went to this star oncologist, and he said, no, I see this every day. People are getting younger and younger, and they're just dying faster and faster. You have until October. You're not seeing Christmas. And if you do, and then he gave me like this plan. He's like, maybe we can get you 2.5 years. And my brain started going places, even in that first meeting with this guy, first and last meeting with this guy. It went to Jessie Lee. There are a lot of things you have seen in your life before they ever happened. How is this any different? Like, I've seen myself walking across the stages. I've seen myself collecting awards. I've seen myself as top rank. I've seen myself fill in the blank when it comes to success. I saw all those things. I created those things. I learned to do this through network marketing and all these events. I visualized things, and the thoughts became the things, the physical, tangible things in my life through my career. Well, my brain went to, why is this different? This is the same thing. Gather the information, learn what you need to learn, find out the skills, and get to work. And so I've been treating cancer completely differently than most people that I know. Not all people. I've met some amazing people through the journey, but I've been treating it as something that's like, you got something to conquer, girl. Like, let's get to work.
I appreciate you being so open and strong. I mean, the ability not only to take the time to share, but share with the energy that you're sharing with all of us. And I'm having you do that for everybody that's listening, not just so you understand where Jessie Lee is coming from and what she's in the middle of right now, but because I do think there's parallels. And I think you said it perfectly, JL. It's like, we all have our own challenges, and we all also sometimes think the challenge that's right in front of us right now is like the biggest challenge in the world. And you are are facing, I can say this, the biggest challenge in the world. I mean, I can't say I've ever faced anything that large, right? I think most of the listeners, and maybe some, have had to navigate health scares and health situations, or have had loved ones go through, and you can relate maybe even more closely. But like, you're going through the fight of your life right now. And it's just, it's inspiring to watch how you're showing up and how you're applying the same things that this industry and channel has given you, the mindset, the discipline, the tenacity, right, to overcome this challenge. Like you said, just like all the challenges that you have to get to where you are on a professional and business level. So I just want to say it's been completely inspiring. What have you learned? Like, is there anything in the last, 6 months or so, going deeper on that mindset conversation? Is there any sort of like shifts that you're really anchoring to how you're showing up every day in your health that might have come from your business in direct selling, that might also be applied to everybody that's listening here as they overcome their own challenges they're in the middle of? I'm curious.
The word parallel that you used is perfect. It is an exact parallel. It's just I'm in a parallel universe, right? So, you've seen me work. You've seen how disciplined I am. You've seen how I approach meetings or calls or anything, fill in the blank, right? This is the same. It was like, okay, if I didn't have the skills, what did I do back then? Well, I would reach out to people who did. Well, so then I started reaching out to stage 4 cancer survivors and asking what they did, and gathering resources and gathering more skills. How do you become a great salesperson? You learn from great salespeople. You read sales books. You go to sales conferences. You go to your company conference and you pay attention to sales classes. Like, I wasn't good at any of this either. And then I've just become like a purveyor of as many skills and conversations and knowledge. And like, we've had some biohacking conversations not even related to cancer. I'm like, oh yeah, I do that, Blake. Oh yeah, I do that too. Yeah, I do that too. You're like, my God, what does she not do? It's like, well, I'll do everything. I'll do anything it takes because I'm up for the challenge.
I think it's so powerful. And I think your story, and you sharing your story as openly as you are, it gives every listener, and I'm sure everybody that's listening right now, an instant perspective shift, because it causes you to put up a mirror and say, okay, well, this is how you're showing up in the fight that you're in. This is how you're applying what you've learned through your experience in this channel. How can we all grab strength from that, inspiration from that, and apply that to the journey that we're on? And it almost makes us feel kind of silly when we're saying, oh, I'm worried about, my prospect and what they might think, and how they might think I'm crazy, or they might think this won't work, or so-and-so, might look at me funny. We're worried about what they may think or what they may say showing up. And then we let those opinions actually affect how we feel about what we're doing or how we feel about ourselves. I think it's powerful. And I also want to highlight, it's been interesting because I've watched you get the news. I've watched you process that. And I've watched you now, what you're doing on a day-to-day. And it could have been very easy for you in this situation right now to kind of like check out of everything and just say, you're going to focus on your health. You're going to focus on healing. Your regimen and discipline is crazy right now. But you haven't done that. And I want everybody to hear this because it's the truth. I'm watching you double down on your business, right? You're doubling down on your business. You're doubling down on your impact. You're doubling down on your content. I know you stepped into a brand new VP role of field development and performance. So you're taking on more. You're balancing your team, and now you're helping train, right, and inspire and put systems across your company. This is just a real question, because nobody would think twice if you're like, I got to take a break and I got to focus on me. What's making you double down on business right now while you're juggling all of this?
I guess it's kind of a complicated answer. It's like, I've always talked about working smarter, not harder, like everybody talks about, but I'm really doing that now. So I've become a master of my schedule more than ever. I used to talk to unqualified leads just because I'm like, whatever, put me in the 3-way. And I was like, this person's not qualified. I do not have 30 minutes for them. I absolutely do not. Right. So business can progress forward by actually working much, much smarter. The system, the legacy thing that you mentioned, or the impact, I think you said, it really was the double down on impact. I realized that if I brought the whole entire company together and I showed them exactly what's scaled my businesses to be where my businesses are, Well, everybody can thrive as well. I do say no to a lot more. So am I taking vacations every 2 seconds, and am I on beaches and doing whatever right now? No, but I also can't really leave Dallas too much anyhow, because they don't have access to all the stuff I need to have access to in regards to my health. So what am I going to do? Sit around my house and mope and cry and complain and stop living my entire life? Like, if I tell you I don't accept a prognosis, then I don't accept a prognosis, which means I don't accept being told I'm going to die. And it's interesting because it's like, do I accept the diagnosis? Yeah, I get it. It's science. Okay. It's colon cancer. But I don't need to accept the fact that I'm going to die. I don't need to accept the fact that this is the end of the game for me. No. And so if you have that mindset, then you can go into the business and say, doing this call has never served the team. We're not doing it anymore. Doing this stresses me out. I'm not doing that anymore. Serving at a really high level really inspires me and actually brings me energy. So what you get to see is me doing a lot of stuff that brings me a ton of energy and putting even more systems in place. And something that's always motivated me has always been the impact, has always been helping people. It's never been about me recruiting everyone in the profession. I've always been a safe person for people to turn to for anything, because I've never gone after people. It's like, make millions of dollars in your company. Like, I don't mind showing you how. Let's go. But it's the same. It's another just parallel. The accepting of the diagnosis and not the prognosis, you could say, about direct sales network marketing. You can accept what I accept that people don't like what we do. I accept that people say only this percent of people make this much money, blah, 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 blah. But I never accepted that I wasn't going to be that person. I never accepted that I wasn't going to be the top in the profession. I never accepted that I wasn't going to win. I said, oh, so you're saying that some people succeed at this? Well, you're saying some people have radical remission, right? I'm just treating it the exact same way. Like, I've never even said that before, but I run my life a certain way. And I didn't want to shut down. I didn't want to turn off the businesses when I don't work my businesses because I have to. I love what I do. If I get joy and energy and peace and enlightenment and impact and legacy and happiness and whatever out of me showing up and teaching and training and coaching and whatever, well, then wouldn't I be kind of stupid to say, oh, what I've wanted to do all along is go blah, blah, blah. No. I don't think you understand. My network marketing business that I've treated like a profession since day one has already provided me countless trips. How many trips have I been on? I don't know. I've done this business and it's provided me this life. Why am I going to hang it up and be like, thanks, network marketing. We had a good run. Now I'm over you. I'm not over it. It provided me this. And we're all going to die someday. Let's just be honest about it. Have you built the business that you're going to be so proud of that you get to will to whoever? I've always had that thought in my mind. Well, if I continue to build this thing and create as much impact as possible, the impact and the legacy that I can pass down will be a lot bigger than if on February 17th, I said, oh, I have cancer. The end. We're done. I'm just going to do kumbayas around campfires from now on. Like, who does that serve? No one, including me, because that's not what brings me joy.
I literally have chills just hearing you say all of that. And, I was taught something early in my career. I had a mentor once say, well, Blake, if you had all the time and all the money in the world, like, what would you do? And it was a question that would try to put you in a state to really ask, like, what are you most passionate about, right? In other words, so many people show up every day and they're in a career or a job or, some sort of work that they're doing it time for money, doing it for a paycheck. But when you remove those, right, time and money, it gets to, well, what moves you? What I just got hit with in your story, JL, with you sharing all of that, is an even deeper question. And it's the question you're living right now. It's if a doctor showed up tomorrow and said, you only have X many days to live, what would you do? And what I'm hearing from you, and not just hearing on this conversation, what we're seeing, right, live out in the world of social media and the world of business, is you are choosing to double down on what you were already doing, not to make more money. You've done that, right? But because you're passionate about this channel, you're passionate about making an impact. And number one, I applaud you. But number two, for all the listeners out there, have you gotten in touch so deeply with why you are in this channel, why you show up every day, why you're having conversations with your customers and prospects, that if you were put in the situation that Jessie Lee is in right now, you'd be doing the same thing, because that's the level of commitment that it takes to get to where you want to go. So Jay, I'm going to reframe that question for me. It's like, I mean, it's the truth. And, thank you for being you and showing us all what it's like to show up every day and like live your passion and make an impact. And I do want to be mindful and responsible. We're sharing Jessie Lee's story here. She's sharing openly what she's facing and going through and the decisions she's making for herself. We're not here to give cancer advice. We're not here to give medical opinions. We're both entrepreneurs. We are not doctors. And we're here to support Jessie Lee in her journey. And I don't want to be taken out of context, right? There's plenty of different types of cancers and treatments and decisions out there. And Jay, I just appreciate you being so transparent with the decisions you're making, why you're making it, and what you're doing. The context of this show, Direct Selling Shift, it's about just that. It's about the shifts that we're seeing across this channel. It's about the season that we're in, and the way things are evolving, right? And you've been in this industry for how long now in direct sales?
12 and a half years.
Right. So 12 and a half years.
We're ancient relics now.
We are OGs. What are you seeing right now across the channel that is kind of different today than maybe a couple years ago? Some of the biggest shifts you're seeing that are most important to maybe the brand new distributor accelerating or the leader looking to get ahead. I'm curious what your perspective is.
Sure. I mean, it's crazy. To your point, it's like when it's been 12 years, which of course is not, 25 years or 30 years or 40 years. There's people 50 years in the profession, right? But you see a lot, and you see patterns. I think is something that I hope leaders and corporate teams, et cetera, remember, because it might wear a different set of clothing, might wear a hat, but it's the same, everything repeats, but it's watching patterns. I think I'm the last group of networkers who we started old school. I mean, I built old school. I built door to door. I built living rooms for 4.5 years, Super Saturdays. I did all that. And then the social media thing came along, and that was like the big shift, right? And then I danced between the two for a long time. We would do Super Saturdays, but we would do this, and then it shifted so heavily into social, and then we would just have these huge corporate events, right? Well, it's interesting because something I see that I would love to see more of is I think that the people that are still blending the two are going to win the biggest right now. So being really strong on social, attracting a lot of people on social, whether that's through YouTube or Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or whatever platforms continue to come out, because there will always be new ones. I think that's important, but the real money and the real magic is absolutely in the in-person relationships. And that is where I am a weapon. So I really know my people. I travel to my people. People don't do this anymore. People can quit easily when it's Zoom calls all the time. And I want more people to understand that, because that huge shift to Zoom that really happened during COVID more than anything, I think is crushing people's businesses, because it can go from, oh, I see you on Zoom every single day, to then they turn the cameras off and all of a sudden they don't show up. And then it's, where are they? It's a little bit different if you've broken bread with them. It's a little different if you've met their kids. It's a little different if you have a deep relationship with them. It's a little different if you've helped them through situations. It's a little different if you jumped on a plane and you flew to Italy. It's a little different if you know them as actual humans and not just cogs in the wheel of your network marketing system. And so that deep relationship, I think that's the biggest shift, where the people who are not that stressed out in 2023 about their businesses, it's because they know their people. Big shift is obviously this is the new shift that we're all having to adapt to, is kind of this affiliate stuff that's going on. How do companies adapt to that? How do people adapt to that without being distracted is the conversation right now. I never tried to ride 2 horses. I'm never going to try to ride 2 horses. You can't. And I don't just mean that anymore about, oh, you can't be in 2 companies at the same time and try to be a top leader, which we've all known is impossible. I'm talking about, it's like, you should never try to make just affiliate marketing or your codes for Amazon or whatever it is a main thing, which some people are trying to do right now. Quick money. There's always money grabs. There's been money grabs since the beginning of time. Okay. So it's no different. Like I said, it's just dressed up a little bit differently right now. That's definitely a shift we see. It's like, okay, but the real leaders are really leading. if you're going to be a leader, you can't be writing different things. You can't be distracting your field. And so that takes me back to what I was talking about a little earlier about, I just think the drive back to events has to be stronger from every single leader, every single corporate team. Events, 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 events. Not only knowing your people, but seeing your people and building the trust in people that the company's doing just fine. All this stuff is coming back. Like I can see it. I can see the biggest leaders in the space. They're doing this. They're going back to, do I know my people? Do my people know me? Do they trust me? Have they met me? There's still companies doing it. And those people they're going to crush. They're going to crush everyone.
So you just said some things that I'm sure listeners that know your persona online are like, no way, Boss Lee is talking about deep relationships and in-person events. So I want to kind of dance on both sides of these and unpack some of that. So I want to go into the deep relationships and maybe give some directive on what you mean and what that looks like for all of us in 2023. But one question I have, I don't know if I've ever asked you this, and I'm curious for all of our listeners. So on the social media conversation, right? For anybody that knows you, they know Boss Lee, right? They know the persona you have online. You're a master at the social media attraction. You've built a massive following, and that has been a key, right? Not to put words in your mouth, but to your success and getting you to where you are today. I'm curious because I know you. So like, I know there's a big difference between like Boss Lee that I see on TikTok or Instagram and like Jessie Lee that, I know if we're hiking on the beach, right, or we're in a strategy session. I'm curious, do you know there's a difference? Like in your mind, is there a difference between the Boss Lee persona and Jessie Lee in life? Are you aware of that? And is it intentional? And I'm fine either way. I'm just curious what your perspective is.
It's 100% intentional, and it was created to protect me, honestly. Boss Lee's my alter ego. So some of you, like you said, might be listening to this conversation even and being like, whoa, like she's so nice and gentle and soft, and she's talking about relationships and whatever. Well, this is exactly who I am. If you peel back the protective curtain and attraction part of Boss Lee, who is this loud, vivacious, vibrant, I don't know about the word aggressive, but certainly aggressive, kind of in your face, do this or don't get results. Like if you don't, that driver who obviously exists inside of me, I can't be that all the time. She's exhausting. She gets results, no doubt about it. She's super driven. That side of my personality is very real. But it was always intentional. The alter ego was always intentional. It allowed me to give my best parts of myself to my deepest relationships. My leaders all know Jessie Lee. They don't know they know Boss Lee, but my leaders know Jessie Lee. Corporate team, to your point, knows Jessie Lee. My real life relationships and friendships that have nothing to do with the business know Jessie Lee. You hang out with me at a restaurant, it's Jessie Lee. You meet me one-on-one, it's Jessie Lee. You see me in a plane, this happens all the time now, right? They're on a plane. Oh my God, Boss Lee. I'm like, hey, you get to meet Jessie Lee. And I'm like, what's up? What's going on? Hello, or whatever the heck. Not that I talk in a deeper voice or anything, but no, I mean that it was totally intentional. It was completely intentional. And a lot of that is because my personality is shy is not the right word, but I'm certainly introverted. And I didn't want to do a lot of these things, like, especially when it was in person. I hated going up to strangers. And I was like, you have to be Boss Lee in this moment, right? I did not like doing live video. I'm like, oh, my normal personality does not attract people, right? So I had to kind of put it together and realize what attracts people and, what people want. And people follow people with vision and direction that are passionate, that say, this is where we're going, right? So I just said, all right, then I'm going to show people where we're going. I'm going to be super direct about it. So it was absolutely on purpose. Yes.
It's so interesting. And I want to make sure that's received the way that you're intending, because they're all parts of you, right? Yeah. Just like for all of us, we all have different parts of ourselves that show up in different situations. Like we all have that. But I love the strategy that you've applied to that part of you online and social in the personal branding world. It's obviously worked, and I know everybody's different. Everybody has their own story and everybody has their own gifts. But like, if you were to give some high directive coaching to all the listeners right now, maybe they're just starting to build their online or social presence and they don't know where to start. And they hear you say that. And maybe they're thinking like, oh no, who's my Boss Lee?
Mm-hmm.
What guidance do you give to someone that's just trying to find the way they show up online or the way they show up in their business? How do they get in touch with who that version of themselves? What directive would you give?
I like that you kind of clarified that, by the way, because it's not fake. That part of me is definitely in me. And I think that part of me protects me a lot. So back to the cancer thing, like cancer needed Boss Lee. Cancer needed the aggressor who was just going to get after the goals. So if you're new to this whole conversation of an alter ego, or where do you start with that, to your point, it's when you're in your most competitive, what do you show up like? Because Jessie Lee's feelings get hurt just like y'all. Okay. Like when somebody doesn't like me, or somebody tells me no, or somebody makes fun of me online or whatever, like I see it. When somebody sends a mean support email, I'm like, why don't these people like me? You know, like I definitely have that. But then what does Boss Lee say? Boss Lee is more like, okay, I don't care. I need more unsubscribes to get rid of the people that don't belong with me. And you're costing me money to send that stupid email out. So please unsubscribe, right? Like, she's got this protective, that's why I said like the protective mechanism. So in your most goal-driven, results-oriented, competitive side, which we all have this, what are those characteristics of you? And you don't have to have a nickname for it. It's just knowing that you're switching into it. When are you going into goal mode instead of being like, but we're supposed to take a vacation every summer. It's that side of you that goes, I would like a vacation this summer, but have I earned it yet? No, get to work. You care about your family. You want to take this family vacation? Go hit your goals. Because I want to relax too. I want to do what I want to do. I want to hang out with my god kids. I want to do all this stuff just like everybody has goals. But that side of me keeps me in check. So everybody, I think, should have, whether it's a social media thing or not, it's not even about that. It's that persona of when I'm in that working mode, I'm in that working mode. And everybody's got it, but sometimes you need to re-trigger yourself into that. I used to teach people, this is forever ago, but back probably when I first shifted into working from home and not having a job and whatever else, and I'd coach people through this, I would tell people, because I'd see them on Zooms or whatever, I'd be like, your problem is you're not going into work mode. So I need you to actually go get dressed for work every day. If it's a woman, like put your face on, do your makeup if you do makeup. I need you to get dressed. I need you all to go to your car. I need you to sit in your car. I need you to start the ignition. If you need to drive around the block, turn the car off, walk back inside. Now you're at work. I used to coach people on that because I'm like, I see what's happening. You're in, I work from home mode. I'm in my kitchen. I'm sitting on my couch with my dogs and my babies. Like you're in this super soft mode. You're not in a creation mode. So if you don't have, a space to work in, get one. If you have to literally go to your car and turn that sucker on and come back in, do it. But it's more just the transition into work mode and then turn off, like turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off. And everybody does it every day. Right? Like you're probably not the exact same person at your job. Anybody listening to this with a full-time job, you're probably not the same person. And so that's all that really is. And then I just started using it on social media because I realized people weren't that attracted initially to posts where I was just, la la la, or live videos. Hello, it's Jessie Lee, compared to, my intro that's like, hello, what's going on? Two totally different people, levels of attraction, completely different. And it was being shared a lot more. So that's what I think
it's so interesting and so valuable. So thank you for going there and giving us kind of some directive. And I'm going to actually pair what you just said there to what you said earlier for everybody that's listening and say, okay, how do I show up as my best self to create a next level of attraction, to drive my business forward, to move toward my goals, right? And I love, JL, the way you said, like, okay, how do you show up when you're in your competitive mode, right? You're in your desire mode, right? You're in your ambition mode. And also go back, guys, to where we started the conversation. How are you tapping into that passion that you're going to do regardless? That if you got that message from a doctor, if you had time and money out of the way, like, how do you tap into the thing that drives you? And I think if you combine that passion and that drive with that desire and that ambition, don't try to be Boss Lee. Don't try to be somebody else you see on Instagram. Find that version of yourself. And that version of yourself, you tap into that, it's going to propel you forward, right? And Jessie Lee, you're a master, right, at taking all of that and turning it into marketing, right? That obviously has generated, amazing results. I mean, crazy results. I want to go another direction. We're talking about kind of gifts, and I don't even know if this is a superpower of yours. So like you have a lot of gifts, right? We all have gifts. We all have talents. We all have unique things. One of the superpowers I think you have, and I've never told you this personally, is you have the ability to find a certain individual. And a lot of times it's women, right? Just by the nature of who you've attracted, and somehow instill in them a confidence. Like a confidence and a certainty and a swagger and a bravado and a belief, whatever term. And I've seen you do this, right? Pattern recognition. I've seen you do this over and over and over and over and over again in personalities. And I see these women rise, like step into their own persona, like we're describing. And for me, watching it, it's a gift, right? It's a superpower. And I don't know if you even know that, because sometimes we're blind to our own gifts. They come so natural, we don't even realize that we're doing it. So I'm curious, like, do you realize you can do that? And even more so, my real question is, how do you do that? Can you give us any directive on like, how do you speak that life into people? Is it a certain type of people you're looking for? Is it a certain thing that you say? Like, give us some of that magic, because I think that's something we all can learn from.
Well, thank you. That was really nice of you. Yeah, I think part of it just came from I was just never the well-liked girl. So I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but I grew up in a really small town where everyone had money. Okay. We didn't. So the town turned into a golf town really quickly after we moved there, because it was a farm town. So I was living in like this small house, etc. And everyone just seemed to have a lot of money and a lot of resources around me. It became a bunch of preppy people everywhere. That was the word of the 90s and early 2000s. And it was just, I was the family. I came from the family that didn't have anything. So I had kind of this desperation to fit in. And the only people I really fit in with was actually the teachers. So the teachers all really liked me, but the kids were always bullying me. I was constantly bullied. I was never seen. And then I have a brother that's 1 year older than me, like nearly Irish twins. My brother makes me look unintelligent. Okay. He's that smart. And so anytime I would have a teacher who also had him in any of the academic classes, they'd say, oh, my maiden name is O'Sullivan, right? They'd be like, O'Sullivan, are you related to Nathan? And I'd be like, oh crap, uphill battle, because Nathan could fall asleep the whole class and still get straight A's. Nathan self-taught himself 24 AP exams and got 5s on all of them. Like my brother is just, I don't have that gift, right? And so there was this thing about me where I just really felt like even though I had so many gifts, nobody saw me. I don't know if anyone can relate to that. It's like I was great at music. I was great at helping lead my family. I was great at being kind to everyone. Like I was always the nice person, even when I'm being bullied. I was great at a lot of personality stuff, but I was constantly overlooked. And so I think that this whole idea of the ability to find individuals and instill confidence in them came from, I look at people and I look for what about them is super special. And maybe it's not they're the smartest, or maybe it's not they're the prettiest, or maybe it's not they're the skinniest, or maybe it's not they're the fastest to hit a rank, or maybe it's not they're amazing at speaking, or whatever. But when I see something special in someone, maybe it's little stuff like they always show up on time and are willing to help. Or maybe it's they're super consistent at hitting that lower level rank and are always uplifting people in the chats. Or maybe it's they message me a lot, like almost too much, where I'm like, this person has a desire to be seen. Let me give them an assignment so they are seen, kind of a thing. And I will just start pouring into them, but I will tell them. So what a lot of people will do, I think leaders they'll see people. They'll be like, ooh, Blake Mellon has potential. They never tell you. They never say, Blake, you're smart. I see you. You keep showing up at events and I know you're stuck, but I see you. It's going to click one of these days. You're going to hear something. It might be at this event. This might be the one for you. Talk to me. Because I'm telling you, I see how hard you're working. I know when you get frustrated. I see how much you talk to the team. I see how you're interacting with people. I see how you're making friendships. I see all this stuff about you. There's something special about you. And I see that in you. And I don't say it to everybody. I genuinely say it to people that I genuinely feel like I need to say it to. And sometimes those little tiny nudges, it does seem to tend to be the people that were also overlooked when they were little. And maybe that's why I love direct sales and network marketing so much, because a lot of us seem to be the people that were misfits. A lot of us seem to be the ones that were overlooked or bullied or just not well liked. And sometimes it just takes that little nudge in the right direction. So yeah, I do speak life on people. When people call, I'm quitting. I'm quitting. I'm done. I don't have joy in this anymore. I don't like this anymore. I'm not happy. I'm looking at another company. I literally will say to them, okay, I understand how you feel. Would you like to talk about it? Because is that how you really feel? And most people will go, I wasn't expecting you to say that. Right? And I can say, well, hey, a bunch of people did quit your team. It's okay. Let's talk about it. How do we fix that? Because you're not starting over. You have a bunch of skills. You're a leader in this company. You're respected. Talk to me about what you're emotionally feeling. Like, we can work through this if you want to. If you don't want to, it's okay too, but let's talk. And most people won't do that. Most people, it's like someone comes up, one bad thing happens, they buy into it. Oh, you're right. The company's shipping times are bad. Oh, you're right. You didn't get highlighted at that call and you should have been on that call. Oh, you're right. They overlooked your trophy. Oh, it's like, I just never been that leader. It's like, here we go, back to events. Just, I guess this whole entire podcast today is about how everyone needs to drive people to events. But one of my first events, maybe my third event, I don't know. I just started hitting leadership positions. It was a man on stage. I don't know who the speaker was, but I remember him going, you cannot, and he's the B word, right? You cannot down to your team. If you need to up. And I was like, why is this man yelling at us, right? Like, he's like, stop complaining to your teams. I'm like a brand new baby leader. Like, maybe the team's doing 30,000 points a month or something, right? Like, I'm like not a leader yet. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just learned very fast. Like, okay, I'm not getting in the mud with the team. If I'm frustrated, team's never going to know, because if they see that, we got a problem. So I just listen really well. I'm calm. I stay super emotionally cool with these people. I help them reset goals, and I see people. So yeah, I will speak life upon people, because you have no idea the last time somebody did that. You have no idea. And we're in a people business. That's what we do. Yes, we sell services, and yes, we sell products, and yes, we build teams, and yes, we lead, but it is all about the people, and it always will be. And I'm so glad that I was so into personal development and went to every event since day one. When I was a hot mess, would have never been asked to be on direct selling shift. It was so bad. I was terrible. I was very rough around the edges. I had a lot to learn. So glad I went to everything. And I kept learning how to get a little bit better, or sometimes a lot better. And it's helped me a lot be the leader that I am today.
Well, I know you just sharing that probably in your mind is just something you do, right, every single day. And I know you do. But for everybody listening, don't underestimate how impactful what Jessie Lee just shared is, and the impact it can make in your business right now. And what I heard is just like, it's be a good human. That's what a good leader is. It's not about doing it to get the result. It's not about making something up because it'll motivate them for a minute. It's about seeing something in the people you're working with. Who is in your team right now? What are the gifts that they have, right? What do you see in them? And I love the way you said it. Are you saying that? Are you speaking that into them? Because it doesn't matter who we are. We all need that. We all need someone to see more in us, to lift us up, to show us who can we become. That's what leadership is. So it is a superpower of yours, and you are doing that. And I'm seeing you not only speak life, but those words turn into reality for so many people. Before we kind of go into maybe some closing questions here, I do want to close the loop. You talked about kind of high-tech social media. You gave us some great directive on branding. I love that. We talked about deep relationships. I think what you just shared is kind of how to create that real connection, how to create those real relationships. I mean, that's something we can all get better at. And you keep circling back on events, and in 2023, like how community and proximity, it's like the old school is the new school. Anything else you want to circle back there? Anything else you want to say what you mean by that, or what that looks like to you or the future of this channel?
It's just, you have to know your people. So like, I've always just been somebody that every day I've got an amount of reach outs that I do for the team. I've always wanted to taproot the team and get to know people more. I've always wanted to be the person that actually invites people to the events, not just waiting for something magical to happen and people to show up. And something I've done for probably 8 or 9 years now is when somebody joins our team, I send them your favorite things form. And it's just like a form where they tell me everything they like, so I know how to properly incentivize people. So it's like, I would ask you, oh, silver or gold, Blake, or what's your shirt size? What's your shoe size? When's your birthday? What's your wife's name? What's your kids' names? Like just getting to know these people. How do you like to travel? What's your favorite airline? Like, what's your favorite flower? What's your favorite cologne? Like I'd go down this huge list of favorite things. And then I can actually properly recognize people. And then it could be like, maybe at a team event or something, I already know who's vegetarian. So if we're going to do a leadership dinner, oh, don't worry, Blake, I got you handled. I know you like meat, or like whatever. It's like, I just find out stuff about people and then I show people that they're cared about. And ultimately that makes more and more people show up. So I don't know. I just went on a tangent with you, but I don't know.
No, it's good. I mean, the little things are the big things, right? The little things are the big things. They matter. I mean, it's like, what's the breakthrough marketing strategy Jessie Lee gave us today? Care, genuinely care, not care for the result, genuinely care for them, what they're about, what their skills are, what they love, how you move them, what their goals. Like, you guys, that's what it's about.
The results will come. If you care, the results will come, period, because you're not focused so much on yourself anymore. And I don't want to sound like a, peace person right now or whatever. Like I say Mother Teresa sometimes and people get mad, but whatever. I don't want to sound like Gandhi or anything, but it's so true. Because I used to start too. When I first started, I needed money just like most people in this channel, right? Okay. Most of us start for money, but then you get to a plateau, and I wish more leaders understood you're probably plateauing because you're still so focused on your money. What if you shifted your attention to caring enough about other people and their money? What might happen? And I'm telling you, you will get results. But there's so much scarcity going on right now. I'm like, what are you doing? You can't chase this bottom line dollar for yourself. And if you keep doing that, yeah, you might be able to make $10,000 a month, but getting to 50 is going to be really hard. 100, you're going to find gosh darn impossible. Promise you, good luck getting to 500,000. You never will. Because you're so focused on, I got to pay my rent. Well, your rent is this much compared to the scale you can actually help the world and serve the world at. And so I've always just tried to stay in that mindset of just serve, care, know your people enough that they know and they feel your love. Because you can't fake that, right? People are going to forget everything we say in this interview, but they'll remember how they felt. They'll say, I heard you. I heard you, Blake. I heard you on that podcast. I heard you, Jessie Lee. You were on that podcast. I don't know. I remember this one thing you said, but everything else, I don't know. I just liked you. Why do people say that? People like you because you cared about them. They don't like you because you bought them things or, you whatever it is that you think it is. It's just a genuine feeling.
Mm-hmm. So good. It's that kind of age-old saying of this channel, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll have everything you want. And it's still true. And it will forever be true. So let's do a quick rapid fire round, JL, before we get some closing thoughts from you. I'm going to ask you questions I've asked most of the guests. And all of these questions are really framed around perspective shifts. And I'm actually curious how you're going to reply, what's on top of your mind, given everything we talked about here, given the season that you're in, and get to what matters most. Like, what's the most significant shifts? We're going to have this show get in front of people that maybe just got started, first time in the industry. They might be a week in, a day in, a month in, and they're listening to all of this you're giving us here. If you could give them one gift of a perspective shift for the brand new person today, like insert it into their psyche, what shift would you give them?
You're listening to this podcast and you're new. You haven't hardly made any money or any money. And you're learning, see, you're already ahead. You just don't know it yet. So I would want to say that to them, first of all. And then my shift would just be, you got to get tough. You don't give up. You can't give up. It goes back to the diagnosis prognosis thing I was saying. Okay, you've chosen the profession of network marketing, the profession of direct sales. Okay, you know that. What are you going to do with that? You can't quit when someone says something. You can't quit when a customer cancels. You can't quit when you lose a leg of business. You got to stay standing. And if you do, I'm telling you, well, you know what I love about this profession? I love about this profession is that it will pay you as big as you build it. No corporate office is going to call you and say, oh my goodness, you sold too much makeup. You sold too much hair care. You sold too much skincare, too many products, too many services, too much energy drinks, protein shakes, whatever. We cannot pay you. No, see, they're going to keep paying you. So don't give up when people tell you to. You can never quit. And if you never quit, you will win. You will.
And the last one, this is kind of a visionary question. And one of the things I love about working alongside DSN is the reach and the impact that we're able to make. I mean, we have a platform here that has served the direct selling industry for 20 years on the executive level. And now we're bringing that same level of like trust and credibility to the whole channel. So this is kind of an aspirational question. Like, what if we had the ability to automatically give every single distributor, consultant, affiliate, coach, whatever we call ourselves in every company across the entire channel, across the world, one shift all at once and united this entire community in a direction? If you had that power, what shift would you give every distributor in the channel today?
My gosh, can we all just get along and work together? I am not your competition. You are not my competition. We have got to stop saying, oh, okay, don't talk to that person. Don't look at that company. Don't see what they're doing. Are you kidding me? I'm a customer of at least 100 network marketing companies and direct sales companies because I want to see what you're doing well. I want to learn from you. I want to see what your customer onboarding is like. I want to know what your recruiting process is like. I want to see what your email sequences are like. I want to see what's going on at your company events. I want to poke around. Why do we got to be secretive and be against each other? Make the shift to work together. It's okay that your best friend sells curtains and you sell lights. Why are we fighting? If we come together, if corporate and field come together more, if company to company to company to company come together more, this will be an indestructible profession that everybody respects. It's too much fighting and for no good reason. Make that shift. Be nicer to each other. And I love that because I think you're starting to see a lot of this happening. Like people are trusting more and letting more people in. That's the move. That's the move. Find the trustworthy people and work with the trustworthy people. And you're going to get hurt along the way, but don't we all? But I think if we can all work together, wow, it's going to be spectacular.
I love that vision. And that is the mission we're on. And that's why we're here. It's why we're all here. That's what the show is about. We're all on the same mission. A rising tide raises all ships, and we're here to raise the tide across the entire community. And I know conversations like this and like today are steps in that direction. So before we kind of round out, it's been such an awesome conversation. JL, thank you for the time with everything you have going on. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for sharing us the belief shifts and mindset shifts you've used in your business, you're using in your life for your health. And also giving us some very practical, tactical directives, right, on what we can do to move ourselves forward. Before we kind of round out this conversation, any closing thoughts, anything else you want to share that's on your mind or your heart? The channel is listening.
I would just say I'm really grateful that this conversation is happening. I think that what's happening with Direct Selling Shift is really important. I think it's overdue. I think it's doing exactly what I said needs to happen. And I think there's going to be more shifts that continue to happen year to year. I think you're going to start to see more of that blend between corporate and the field that I think is so important. And just remembering, no, we shouldn't ever be each other's enemies. That just goes back to that kindness thing about me, I suppose. But we're all people. We're all trying to do our best. And I really believe that this is the best profession in the world to really make a huge impact without having to put out a bunch of income. And we need to continue to make this a more professional profession. That's why I really go into the less fighting, less stealing, less, shady deals and like weird stuff. Like, let's just be above the bar. Let's be super professional. Because I've looked at it as a profession since day one, like I already mentioned. And I think that's why my business has done what my business has done. I think that's why I have the reputation, God bless, that I have in this profession. And I think it's time for more people to rise up and just be the super ethical, full of integrity leaders that this profession deserves to have. So that's just what I would say about that.
I love it. And I'm smiling because I'm just thinking all of the listeners out here, like, You probably downloaded this episode thinking we were going to get Boss Lee today, and we got Jessie Lee for pretty much the entire conversation. You probably thought we were going to learn about branding and social media marketing, and we're talking about deep relationships, community, caring, and just showing up and speaking life into people. And it just makes me genuinely smile. Thank you for being you. Thank you for showing us what's possible. Thank you for the time here. And for everybody out there, I don't care what your belief system is. Like, I'm a believer, and I'm going to call it energy. And I'm going to ask everybody out there, let's just please send all our love and all our positive energy toward Jessie Lee. We're behind you. We're following you. And I just want to say that you have the energy of the channel behind the battle you're facing right now. And thank you for showing up, leading, and living the way that you do. So for everybody listening here today, normally I'd say, hey, let's share the episode because, there was a nugget. This episode, this needs to be shared because there is someone in your life, in your team, in your company community that needs to hear this story, that needs a perspective shift, right? They can see an example of someone that is living every day, facing challenges, right, that are greater than I'm sure what we're facing in our businesses that can move us forward. So make sure we share this episode. And thank you, JL, for your time and who you are. And today's conversation, it's been a blast. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you too, Blake. Thank you.